Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Erika Solano. I am a partner at Sol Luxury Hospitality Training and Consulting. And I would like to welcome you to the International Luxury Hotels Association webinar on a great topic that we have prepared for you this morning on engagement, purpose, and retention in the hospitality industry. Today's webinar is brought to you by Sol Luxury Hospitality Training and Consulting. Our company is founded in 4 pillars: service excellence, positive leadership, sustainability, and building community, which includes diversity and inclusion and enriching the communities where the hotels do business at. So for today's webinar, I really would like to thank and welcome our wonderful panelists. We have Donte Johnson, General Manager at Thompson, Buckhead. Donte's passion is leveraging the assets and resources of hospitality to drive positive social impact. We also have Bobbie Mesa, Vice President, People and Culture at Acqualina Resort and Residences on the Beach. And I will let Bobbie at some point share what her passion and purpose is, which we are very curious about. We also have Sandro Formica, visiting professor with Florida International University, Chaplin School of Hospitality Management, and research fellow with Claremont Graduate University, positive organizational psychology, and who I also have the privilege to collaborate with at Sol Luxury Hospitality Training and Consulting. And his purpose is to integrate happiness through self-science in organizations, governments, and educational systems worldwide. As you can imagine, the engagement, purpose, and retention in the hospitality industry could take us quite a few days to discuss. So let's just get started in today's discussion. And I would like to pose the first topic for discussion, right, to our wonderful expert in positive psychology and positive leadership. So Sandro, can you first of all help us define engagement and purpose in the work location, and how it may be different for the hospitality industry versus other industries based on your experience?
Well, these are 2 very hot topics. Let's start with engagement. Engagement is basically the involvement and enthusiasm of employees in their work and workplace, if you want, or it's the level of enthusiasm and dedication a worker feels toward their job. And purpose. Purpose, it's something bigger. Purpose is your commitment and dedication using your values, your strengths and talents to something greater than yourself. Now, if you look, and this is your personal purpose, which obviously affects your business life as much as does affect your personal life. But also, let's think about business purpose, because, and I'm bringing to you the purpose of Deloitte. I have been involved with them, especially at the World Happiness Summit. The representative of well-being of Deloitte USA, Jan Fisher, is with us. She has been with us for years, and it's very, very active about purpose. And basically theirs is to make an impact that matters by creating trust and confidence in a more equitable society. So if you think about the elements, both elements of engagement, but I want to spend a few words about purpose, especially. Purpose is something bigger than yourself. And the interesting thing is this, that when you look at research on purpose, you see, like no other topic, how many benefits purpose actually brings to individuals and society. I'll mention a few of them just to make sure that we personally do a good job in terms of working toward our purpose. Increases meaning on life, increases resilience. You sleep better if you have a purpose and you pursue it. You actually feel better in a diverse environment. So it breeds diversity. It creates a higher quality of life. It increases physical strength and agility, especially in when we are older. Less anxiety and stress, reduces less risks of cardiovascular diseases, predicts greater income and net worth, and predicts mortality across adulthood. So you tell me if there is anything better than this, but to me, there isn't. So now let's move to the hospitality industry. Engagement and hospitality are two elements deeply connected because hospitality is a very challenging environment when it comes to work scheduling, to bridging or modulating your personal life and your professional life. So being engaged, it's essential. As a matter of fact, we need to be deeply engaged because it requires more effort than an 8 to 5 type of job. So for sure, engagement becomes a critical element. But if we do not contextualize it within the working environment and our experience in life, then it becomes very, very, very challenging, especially in terms of purpose. Why are we here? What's our purpose? And what's the purpose of our company? Just to give you an idea of how to connect these elements with, for example, the situation of great resignation and quiet quitting. I published an article related to that with some very practical examples of how to solve this problem. The hospitality industry is number one in terms of great resignation, how many people quit the industry, and quiet quitting in terms of I do the minimum indispensable so that I'll survive in the workplace. And what I found based on the research I actually collected is that the reasons behind these two phenomena are failure to recognize performance, feeling disrespected, and lack of feeling cared about. This is one block. The second block is a toxic culture, lack of opportunities to learn and grow. And the third block is lack of professional fulfillment and meaningfulness of work, which is exactly connected to purpose, lack of connection with the organization's purpose. So we need really to work harder from this point of view to make these connections, and especially when we hire, in the hiring process, in the recruiting process and onboarding process, we really need to talk about these elements. How do you feel you can be best engaged? And what's your purpose in life? And how do you see your purpose being connected with the purpose of our organization?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sandro. I really, I love when you talk about the impact and how, when people feel cared about, when people feel like they connect with the values of the organization, then it's easier, right? Of course, to have that engagement and that purpose in the work location. So, Donte and Bobbie, how do you prioritize the employee engagement in your organizations, and what strategies have proven most effective in fostering a positive work environment at either one of your properties? So I'll give the microphone to Bobbie, please.
Great, thank you so much, Erika. So for us, we prioritize employee engagement. That's our number one priority within our organization. It's crucial for us to maintain a positive work environment and to basically enhance the overall productivity of our team members. Some of the things that we do within Acqualina, it's part of our HR plan. It's something that we abide by. We have calendars We have these ways in which we prioritize it. And some ways that we have an open communication channel. We encourage open communication between our employees and management. We have feedback mechanisms. We have suggestion boxes throughout our property. We have regular team meetings. Obviously, we do have an open door policy. We have created employee surveys, which we conduct two times per year, and as well as town hall meetings. So open communication is number one for us. We do have a recognition and rewards program. It's extremely robust. We recognize them on a weekly basis, all of our team members. We have leader of the quarter, we have employee of the month. We have training and development. We've created many training programs throughout this past year. We've created our own programs, as well as we have other ways in which we have leadership programs that we have that it's accessible via video and webinars. Work-life balance, we promote work-life balance with flexible scheduling. We have increased our time off policies, in which we used to have 7 federal holidays per year. Now we've gone up to 10. And then we also have up to 13 PTO days per year. So we have about 23 PTO days per year for our employees, for our team members. I would have to say that our culture is one of appreciation. That is what we want to instill in our team members. We know that that is an important criteria to keep our people engaged. We want them to know that they are valued, that their voices are heard, and that we continue with our training and development platforms as well. Our employee survey, we just completed it, and that's what we've done. We've looked at the survey, we've looked at the comments, and we've acted upon them. Some of the comments was more leadership trainings. Others had to do with something as simple as our cafeteria menu. So now I'm going to launch a survey to our team members to see, okay, what would you like to see in rotation? So something as, whatever it happens to be, we always want to make sure that our team members are engaged and that we're listening to them, and that we act quickly. That, once something's brought to our attention, that we will do something and we'll take action on anything that's brought to us.
Thank you so much. Oh, sorry.
Thank you. No, that's fine.
Yes, thank you. Well, it seems that you have a very robust, program that involves, of course, the input for leaders and for your associates as well. So congratulations. I think it's always very important to see then what do we do with that information, right? Because we recollect those surveys, we recollect those suggestions, and then what do we do and how do we explain to people that sometimes not everything is going to be possible, not everything can be implemented, but at least giving them the opportunity to express themselves, to express their desires and their wishes as well. So Donte, what about you? What do you find to be most effective for what you do in your organization to prioritize employee engagement?
Thank you for the question, Erika. And I think Bobbie and Sandro both covered quite a bit of ground. I think thinking through the culture piece of that, I think what a lot of people want is agency. I think COVID coupled with George Floyd for us in the hospitality industry was an extinction level event for old ways of working. And I think that the dynamic in the industry between employers and colleagues had to shift. And most hotels that I talk to across the country, 8 out of 10, are still struggling very much with staffing. So examining the ways that we work and what the culture is in the building, it's not an optional thing for us. It's not something that we do just because it's a great idea. It's an existential thing. And for people who show up every day and do a lot of the entry level work that makes the business go, it's hard to find purpose in it. And these are challenging jobs, to the point that Sandro made. And recognition programs are important. I think engagement is important, but the way we engage has to be different. You know, we're not going to be able to pizza party our way out of the issue that we find ourselves in right now from a recruitment standpoint. I think the talent pool within the industry is as shallow as it's ever been because we saw a lot of people exit who aren't coming back. And so we have to attract talent from places that we haven't before. We also have to re-examine old ways of thinking about retention. If the only reason why people are doing these jobs is because they don't have another choice, then we've got to think about that differently. Because now more than ever, the gig economy has changed options for people. People's philosophies and thoughts around work have changed. Work-life balance was this abstract thing that people sort of talked about in academic circles years ago. And now even that is sort of a passe way of categorizing or characterizing people's relationships with their employment. You know, people don't live to work anymore. People need to earn what they need to earn in order to support their lifestyles, but people's lives don't revolve around their jobs. I think people's cultures have changed, people's ways of living have changed, and we've got to adapt the way that we interact with them at work.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, you touch up, of course, in a very good, point as far as recruiting as well, right? And how has that changed? So what is the biggest thing that you have seen changing as far as recruiting and, to adapt to these retention strategies and accommodate the new, the new workforce expectations and preferences as well?
Yeah, I think we've had to be adaptable with respect to benefits. So it's not just medical, dental, and pet insurance anymore. We've done bus passes in environments where people have struggled to find transportation. We've looked at all the things that Bobbie mentioned with respect to the day-to-day operation, but realistically, we're not going to be able to host a job fair and then pick the 20 people that we like the best anymore. We're going to have to meet people where they are. We're going to have to identify people who have transferable skills, because the idea that we're going to bring you in at the entry level and then just continue to work you up the food chain into leadership isn't sustainable anymore, because we're not attracting talent at the rate that we used to. I think we've got to engage with academia differently. We've got to really look at everywhere where talent exists, identify transferable skills, and then create ways to bring those people into the industry. And if that means management training programs need to be reevaluated, if that means that we've got to identify talent in places where historically we haven't looked, then I think those are things we need to look at. One thing that you'll hear me talk about quite a bit is fair chance hiring. I think as an industry, we find it to be completely acceptable to completely dismiss the possibility that people who are returning home from incarceration could have value for our industry. And I think that's something that, again, it's an outdated perspective, particularly when we're in a crisis of talent.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bobbie, what about for you for the recruiting aspect and the onboarding aspect as well, right? Like how do you feel that is, changing, shifting? You're on mute.
I apologize.
That's all right.
So for us, we've changed our model in the type of employee that we're looking for. So for first and foremost, where before we would not accept like anybody who was full-time employees, only full-time. Like we were very, very strict in our expectations. Now we know we're not the ones to lead the charge anymore. We have to be very much more open to what is out there and what people want. So we've changed our model. So now we're hiring more interns, more part-time team members, where in the past we wouldn't, because if you know anything about Acqualina itself, we have so many standards that people have to know in order just to do their job. So a front desk agent is not just a front desk agent. They need to know, on top of their job, they need to know 25, 30 standards in order just to do their job. So it's it takes so much time and work to train that now we've totally adjusted. We've taken on a lot more J1s. We've done internships. We're doing part-time work, and we're also being much more flexible in our schedules. So for our managers and directors, we're allowing many more opportunities for hybrid work, and just being much more flexible and listening to what people want now. There's no other way but to model our recruitment efforts to what people are looking for now.
And I would add to that, we're not just competing with each other for talent anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We're competing with other industries. And so ideas like remote work were crazy talk 10, 15 years ago. And now we're building hotels with the assumption that a lot of the team members are going to be remote. Scheduling inflexibility and sort of the unsociable way that we have to schedule, because we are a 24-hour business, is one of the top reasons why people exit the industry, and one of the top things that keeps people from coming in the first place. So the idea of flexible scheduling is probably long overdue that we examine some of these things. But also our hiring process needs to be unpacked. The days of 3-page employment applications are over. Let's get you in, let's talk to you, let's figure out if you have value to add to the team, and then let's welcome you aboard. Because to Bobbie's point, people aren't going to tolerate that anymore. They're going to go where it's easy, they're going to go where it feels aligned with their values, and they're going to stay. And I think the other thought is people have more access to information about who they're working for than they ever have. And so the same way that our customers have the ability to align their purchases with their values, so do our colleagues. And so the things that you espouse on your website have to be the things that you're actually living and breathing in the business every day.
I agree, right? Like you have to have that alignment with what you say you are, with the culture that you say you're promoting, with the actual, now you're here, we're going to show you that it is true, that magical place that we told you it was going to be, now it's our job to actually execute on that, right? So Sandro, you hear, of course, these experts in the hospitality industry, and of course, I know that you do have also experience in the hospitality industry. You were also part of our industry at some point. What do you think? What you hear about these strategies for engagement, you hear about this, different mindset for recruiting, onboarding. What are your thoughts on this conversation and answers that Donte and Bobbie kindly gave us?
Well, it all starts in the process of recruiting and selection and onboarding. And I'm thinking I have worked with companies where we actually compared the results of hiring based only on hard skills. Are you capable of doing whatever your tasks require you to do? Or I hire you based on your values, value alignment with us. I mean, I hear you talking about the values, and that's exactly one of the elements of the quiet quitting and great resignation. Toxic culture, lack of opportunities to learn and grow. This is value alignment. So if we do not work on value alignment, the person is probably not willing to stay. So we need to be very clear about our applicants knowing our values first, and we need to learn their values as well. And then there is a process of determining the fit and looking for alignment. We actually measure it in percentages, the level of value alignment. And of course, we do a lot of work on job crafting. You got to sculpt your job based on your values, based on your strengths. It's not an easy task, but it's the one that grants the highest results, among the highest results in terms of positive organizational psychology. Those who craft their jobs are the highest performers of the team. Will it take time? Absolutely. But as you know, clearly the message is evident with Donte. I mean, he said we can't adjust just thinking that, okay, this is your job, you have to follow it. We need even more than adjusting, understanding who the person is. And so the work has to start from the being. Then from the being, you go to the doing. I know that it seems very abstract, but it's very practical. The being is your values. The being is your purpose. That's your being. If we disconnect from that part, the doing will become a rat race. And eventually people will give up, as often they do in the hospitality industry.
Right. Thank you so much, Sandro. You know, beautiful, beautiful words and beautiful way to put it as well. So, and I know that Donte, you mentioned, you know, the leadership portion, right? And the role, you know, you briefly touched on the role that the leadership has on purpose and engagement. And, you know, as we were talking about this topic for the webinar, you know, it always makes me think of how do we sometimes promote people within our organization and within our teams, right? And then we think that someone is a great bartender, and then we just say, all right, let's make you a supervisor, let's make you a manager, without really any leadership training to even for them to discover, you know, what's my leadership style? You know, what do I need to know about leading a team? Most of the times we just say, okay, here you are. Thank goodness you're here. Let's just put you on the roll. And then that training portion always misses, right? So, you know, at Sol, you know, at our company, that's something that I always try to reinforce with the leaders to say, make sure that you're setting up the team up for success, right? It is not fair for us to put leaders in leadership position where we have not given them any tools to lead a team, to know how to have meaningful conversations, to know how to promote and you know, I always see the role of the leader, of the person that you're responsible for the flourishing of the individuals in your team. You're the one that needs to identify, where do this person flourish? What can I do for this person to thrive in work, in life, in everything, right? And I'm very privileged when I have the chance to have those conversations, because I say, you know, in a leadership position, someone did that for us. Someone took the time to develop us as a leader. That's why we're here, right? But it was intentional, right? Now, of course, there will always be people that, you know, you could have the perfect bartender and you tell them you would like to be a supervisor. No, I don't want that, because that's not in their best interest. That's not their passion. That's not what moves them. So as a leader, also being able to identify what moves you, what are the things that matter to you, and how can I actually connect the values of the organization with your personal values so you find meaning in your work. And within that meaning, then you find, you know, you thrive and you have the passion. So at Sol, I'm very privileged to, you know, to be able to have these conversations. And of course, hearing you all is always a delight. I admire people that are still in operations. I admire you beyond words. I was in operations with a Walt Disney company for a long time, and these days I think are so tough, right? So thank you for everything that you all do. Moving on to another, you know, to another topic, which of course right now it is a very high topic, and this is a question for the three of you, really. How do you, or could you, leverage the technology to enhance employee engagement and retention in the hospitality industry? I'll start with Donte. Give us some insights, please.
Yeah, I think, and I'll just go back to the previous question quickly. When we talk about the idea of leadership and management, those are not synonymous terms. And so maybe the best version of leadership for the superstar bartender is to be a superstar bartender. And maybe the organization, instead of trying to figure out a way to feed them deeper into the machine, should deconstruct that model and figure out the way to extract the maximum value and pour the maximum value in to that colleague. And so to me, that is being experimental, it's being agile, it's being adaptable. And when I think about technology, specifically relative to hospitality, I take a similar approach. I think because we think of hospitality at its essence as taking care of people and making people happy, we think that there's no place for technology because we think that gets in the way of the human connection. But I think hospitality as an industry and as a business, we must leverage technology in order to make the jobs sustainable that we're talking about people running away from in mass. And so if there's a way that an iPad makes the role a little less taxing on somebody than a desktop does, then we should get them an iPad. If our guests are also shifting their values and they don't want to have a 20-minute conversation at check-in because they Googled all that information on the way into the hotel, then we shouldn't hold their keys hostage. We should let them check in on their cell phone. And we should let them have the conversation at the place in the guest journey where they want to have the conversation. And maybe that's the bar. And then maybe we look at our model and say, well, maybe the smiley, happy people don't need to be in the places where we used to think they needed to be. Maybe they need to be released from being stuck behind the desk or stuck behind the bar. Maybe you need people roaming the space. And so I think we should be experimenting and testing. And I think we should, rather than sort of hold sacred all the things that we were taught when we first entered the industry, as these are the sacred cows, these are the non-negotiables. I think we should put everything on the table and then only cling to the ones that we absolutely have to have. And everything else, we should look at every opportunity possible to figure out how we can tap into technology.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Bobbie. What are your thoughts on this? This high level topic, technology?
So, I mean, currently we are really utilizing AI. And I say technology because we're looking into other ways to, for instance, our reservations department closes at 6 p.m. We're looking at other ways in which we can utilize technology to maybe close the gap in some of these areas. Recruitment is always going to be a challenge, and I think it's going to get harder as the years go by. So we are really looking at some AI technology to assist us with that, and like Donte said, there are non-negotiables. There's the front desk agents, there's our concierge, our bellman, there's certain positions we don't want, even to think about technology, but we're already looking at it from behind the scenes, some of our administrative functions. And, what's going on out there is just absolutely mind-blowing, in my opinion, of what we can do, even in my department alone, we're utilizing this system where we can put in like 4 documents into a system, and they can it'll produce a chart for us and the differences between the 4 documents. So with AI, to me, there's no going back in certain areas. And I think starting with the back of the house, where we're not guest facing, that's where we're starting, and leveraging technology. There's, it's just, like I said, it's something that we all need to, understand and study, because it really is going to be our right arm. It's going to be our right hand, and we need it, and we need to leverage it, especially in our industry, because it's getting exceedingly more difficult, and we can really assist with that with technology. And for me, the technology right now that we're really utilizing and we're bringing in more and more is AI.
Correct. And I think, again, thinking in terms of technology, of how do we provide this tool that will make the jobs easier, right? And would not be a roadblock. So then the employee could also feel, okay, I have a little bit of extra time to do other tasks, then, enhance a little bit that engagement. So in the essence of time, Sandro, I'm going to leave this last one for you, because I know, of course, you are, the expert into the positive leadership and positive psychology. So could you share some successful initiatives or programs that have significantly boosted employee engagement and purpose levels. And I'll throw the commercial as well, that we are working on something at Sol, in collaboration with Sandro as well. So be on, standby for that, because I think it's going to be a very exciting test that we are doing with some properties. And I think the data will be great. And when we have that, of course, we will be happy to share. But Sandro, tell us about some takeaways. Give us the recipe, successful initiatives or programs that can boost our employee engagement.
Okay, so for employee engagement, I shared with you a slide. I don't know if you can post it. That would help. But if you, okay, I am at Claremont University. Claremont University is this small. We have not even 2,000 students there, only doctoral and master students. But I don't know if you know that Claremont, just 45 minutes far from LA, had the two fathers. One is the father of modern management, which is Peter Drucker, and the other one is the co-father of positive psychology, Mihail Csikszentmihalyi. So the interesting thing is that they both, even though they come from two totally different perspectives, they both have a process of inside out. And I connect to being and doing. Okay, you cannot do without be, because you don't go anywhere. So this inside out process means that we really need, if we want to have engagement and certainly stimulate purpose and purpose alignment, we need to start from needs. Because if your emotional needs are not met, if your psychological needs are not met, there is nothing you can do. Let me explain to you what it is and then put it into practice. For example, if I feel that I'm not understood, if I feel I'm disrespected, as I provided you with the earlier article I was discussing with you, if I feel I'm not recognized at work, which are the recognition element is the biggest, most important need of employees in the hospitality industry, and it is the least met. Now, if you put these two things together, you understand that if my needs are not met, I go on survival, I can't engage. Come on, I mean, how can I engage? I'm very concerned that my boss doesn't appreciate me, or my colleague is trying to, push me aside, or they do not really understand my needs. And so why would I engage in the first place? I go to work with a spirit, with a state of survival. And I know that most employees, or certainly many employees in the hospitality industry, go to work with this type of state of being. So how can we change it? What I ask companies to do first is to actually make a map, collect information, and make sure that you have the top 3 to 5 needs at work of every employee that you have. To me, not having this Excel sheet with the top needs of your employees or collaborators is just not knowing them. I'm sorry, because some, and I see constantly that some have a need for play, some have a need for likeness, some have a need for growth, some have a need for challenge, but most of them have a need for recognition. And then I asked to measure them on a percentage base, 1 to 100. And the third element, so again, here we have a map, mapping the needs of our employees, which I would do the same thing for values, don't make me wrong, but we start from needs, because from there, it's the process of the inside out starts. So let's say that I have a need for growth, for challenge. Okay, it's met at, I'll give you an average that I have collected, 33%, 1/3 of my needs at work are met. Okay, this is based on my consulting and training. So I have a database of about over 10,000. Okay, 33%. Okay, now who have I chosen to meet this need? Is my boss, my supervisor, my colleague, okay? So then I identify also the person that I consciously or maybe subconsciously have I selected. Then once I have a mapping, a complete map of needs, then I start working on how can we increase that percentage. And so we meet with employees every 3 months, every 4 months at most, and we check if the plan that we agreed on to increase the satisfaction of those needs is actually going through or not. Otherwise, we'll adjust changes. There are positive companies, I want you to know, where you can actually choose your boss. Every 6 months, they give the opportunity to the employees, pick your boss. Pick the boss you want, regardless of hard skills. Pick your boss. And guess what? They pick the boss that meets their needs most. Because when they do, then they are more engaged. So is it possible? You think, oh, can't be possible. Yes, it is possible. Absolutely. Like job crafting. Is it possible? No, you can't, your job is this way. You have to do it this way. Well, I can accomplish the same and more, because science is very clear on that, by crafting it based on my characteristics, my strengths. So this is the way I would think that a positive organization should work. First, make sure that you are very clear about your employees' needs, values, and purpose. And based on that, start building this one-on-one relationship that eventually will affect the team, will affect the department, and the entire organization.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, I definitely think this was a wonderful conversation. We could stay here for hours. We want to be respectful of everybody's times. I want to thank our audience as well. I want to thank the International Luxury Hotel Association for arranging this wonderful webinar. Thank you to our company, Sol Luxury Hospitality Training and Consulting, for being the host of this webinar. Thank you once again, Donte, Bobbie, and Sandro. And I look forward to continuing the conversation wherever we are in the world. Thank you so much for your time and have a wonderful day.